Welcome to People Human Rights for the Stone 5. I am Olga. Today we will speak about the spiritual side of the fight. Indeed, everything which is physical has a spiritual origin. One side is the evil doings which aims to destroy the earth, and the other side is the prayer to the Creator and the physical fight against those who wants to destroy the earth. The human motherland is where is the throne of God on earth. It is where is the Garden of Eden, where God placed the man he created, and he came to visit him. Genesis 2 verse 8 says, God placed the man on the east. That is because God, since the origin, placed the man above all creatures, that some angels who were jealous of the man, went against God. And on the physical side, God created the human motherland as the center of the the all the lands. So the human motherland is the comment on dit the prime, the center. It is where originated every spirituality, every knowledge of science, of culture. It is where there's the balance of all the forces of nature. So for its mystical forces, the human motherland is also attractive to some people because of that. And God worked to create the creation. He worked with tools, with rules like gravity, like the constellations, the winds, the seasons. He worked with, he instated some cycles. He created the earth to product food, to product material, etc. And that is why, yes, so uh, when you look with, when you look at the shape of the human motherlands, and with the Arabic Peninsula included, well, without or with, you see that the human motherlands so I'm just trying to look at something. Just 1 minute. So let me just check something. No, ça c'est. Okay. So when you watch at the shape of the human motherland, you see that the shape, it's a tri-square shape. If you use, and you need to use as well a map with a proper, a right projection. So, and the human motherlands, it's the only continent which is parted in its middle, by the equator, the circle of the equator, always on a right projection map. What does Isaiah 40 verses 21 to 22 says? Let's check that. So Isaiah 40 verses 21 to 22. Have you not known? Have you not heard? Has it not been told you from the beginning? Have you not understood from the foundations of the earth? It is He who sits above the circle of the earth, and its inhabitants are like grasshoppers, who stretches out the heaven like a curtain and spreads them like a tent to dwell in, who brings princes to naught and makes the rulers of the earth as nothing. So, yes, it is. The scientists also say that it's near the equator that you can launch rockets properly. And there are some noises about some rockets being Sun Sense from Senegal. So we will need to check on the people's health about this. So, who says circle says geometry compass. Geometry compass, tri-square are the tools of God. Whom with them he, among his tools, but the tools which help him to make the creation, the tools of the builders, since the origin of time, since antique Egypt. When you look at the pyramids, they look like three-dimensional tri-squares. And on the continent, on the human motherlands, they are at many places, not only in Egypt. So, God created the human motherlands and put everything in it. So, what wants the evil forces is to take over that human motherland spiritually and physically. Because the human motherland also has a spiritual force. Why? Because those grasshoppers, we found them also in the book of Revelation. And yes, so it is all about taking over the continent, taking over the throne of God. Even some mystic groups, people uses the tri-square and the geometry compass. So, but is it really possible to take over the human motherland? That wasn't made in heaven. That didn't happen in heaven. Like we can read in Revelation 12, verses 7 to 8. So it can't happen on the earth. Let's read Revelation 12. Verses 7 to 10. Now war arose in heaven, Michael and his angels fighting against the dragon. And the dragon and his angels fought, but they were defeated, and there was no longer any place for them in heaven. And the great dragon was thrown down, the ancient serpent, who is called the devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world, he was thrown down to the earth, and his angels were thrown down with him. And I heard a loud voice in heaven saying, "Now the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God and the authority of his Christ have come. For the accuser of our brethren has been thrown down, who accuses them day and night before our God. And they have conquered him." Verse 12. Rejoice then, heaven, and you that dwell therein. But woe to you, O earth and sea, for the devil has come down to you in great wrath, because he knows that his time is short. So, now we will try to clarify some confusion, because people make confusion, but those confusions are normal. they are normal because it's the way things are presented to people. Or okay, so we will start to talk about Eden and the Garden of Eden. Everything has its value in his context, when it is put in his own context. And Psalm 24, verses 1 and 2. The earth is the Lord's, and everything in it, the world and all who live in it. For he founded it on the seas and established it on the waters. So God created the earth from, there was nothing. Genesis says the Spirit of God was moving upon the waters. So God created out of the waters, created the earth, shaped the earth, and then put rivers. So there was a river in heaven, in Eden, and from Eden, that river divided in 4 branches, 4 other rivers. But Eden had been hidden by God, because it's the place of the sin. It's where the dark power took where it's the place where the dark power prevails on man. And God can't leave that place in the hands of the demons or in the hands of men. So he hided the place with his angels, and he put the man outside the Eden, and he also closed his that third eye, so that man can see God and can't see Eden. The place, the right point where the place, that river divides in four, also has been hidden. All the principal parts of Eden and Eden have been hidden from God, from man by God. And so man can only see what God permits him to see. So the four branches, but not their junction. And let's read Genesis 2 from verse 10. A river flows out of Eden to water the garden, and from there it divides. It divides and becomes four branches. Okay, the name of the first is Pishon or Piscon. Bref, it is the one that flows around the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold, and the gold of that land is good. Bdellium and onyx stone are there. So, we need to use linguistic and put this in its own context. Many thousand years ago, and we needed to put all these in his context and use the linguistic. Havilah means it's in Hebrew, ancient Hebrew. It has a notion of deposit, layers. When they say that the gold there is pure, it's because the river of Havilah, because all those four rivers are in the human motherland. So that first river is the Zambezi, and its region. Yes, we are talking about region 1,000 years ago or ancient region. So there's nothing to do with the Berlin Conference division, etc. So in that region, by the Great Zimbabwe, and all the, of course, big region till those regions are, in this region, gold God is formed through deposits. It's deposits of gold on layers. God is not in deep mines where it can be mixed with other particles. No. That's why they say it is pure. And there are other stones, James. They say onyx, but it's a black gems, the black stone. But there's also black diamonds, the other gems. And there's also bdellium. But bdellium is a Latin name. It's a resin, which is like myrrh. So the first the first river of Eden is the Zambezi. The second river the name of the second river is Gihon. It is the one that flows around the whole land of Kush. Yeah, that whole land of Kush, many people know where it is, on the east, India, that Ethiopia. It goes from Ethiopia, the corner of the continent, and goes up to Egypt. It's down the Egypt. Yeah, so that river is obviously the Nile River, with his two branches. There's the White Nile and the Blue Nile, and so that is the second river. The third river, same. Linguistic. What does? Let me read these. So, the name of the third river is Hiddekel. Hiddekel. Which flows east to Assyria. So the Hiddekel, some people translated by the Tigris. All these we need, it's about linguistic. And even when people migrate, they can name places from the same places names they've left. That doesn't mean that it is the origin. So, Hiddekel is in ancient Hebrew means has a notion of rapidity. Yeah, if they call it also Tigris, maybe quick, rapid, like a tiger. I don't know, but it has a notion of power and rapidity. And on the continent, this refers to the river Congo, because the river Congo is a majestuous river, a powerful river, which can have a debit of 39,000 cubics per second, cubics, probably, and which can go still 80,000 cubics per second. It's the very powerful river. And it is that on the border of that river that the prophet Daniel was, when he had the vision of the angels. And we can read that in Daniel 10 to Daniel 12, and we will read right now Daniel 10:4. Daniel 10:4. On the 24th day of the first month, as I was standing on the bank of the great river, the Hiddekel, I looked up, and there before me was a man dressed in linen, etc. So now we're going to talk about the fourth river. What is the Genesis 2? Yeah, just the fourth river is the Euphrates. Euphrates. So again, context and linguistic. What does Euphrates means? The linguistic in ancient Hebrew, it refers to Ephrata. Ephrata, which means it has a notion of opening, and also fertility. It's voila, you see. So it's a river which opens, which is a river which is open and which is also kind of fertile. And so that river relates to the Shibili River. That Shibili River, which comes from Ethiopia, through Somalia, and that river does not end in the sea. It ends in a swampy land. No, it ends in swamps. A swamp, some water places, so many later many waters with aquatic plants, with trees around, etc. So green place, and it's opened. You see, the river is open there. Yeah, this is the fourth river of heaven, of Eden, is the Shibili River. And yes, so now, I wanted to read something about that Cush. Yeah, what I forgot to tell you about the third river, the Hiddekel. Yeah, because between 900 and 700 before Christ, the kingdom of Assyria was a very big kingdom. And it went through Assyria, went through to Egypt, and down to the Kush, and etc. And you need to see those ancient maps where the human motherland was presented before. The human motherland was presented with the south on the north and the north on the south. And yeah, so we will read Isaiah 19, 19:8 first, and then Isaiah 19:24 to 25. Isaiah 19, verse 18. It's about Assyria, Egypt, and Cush. On that day, there will be 5 cities in the land of Egypt that speak the language of Canaan and swear allegiance to the Lord of hosts. One of these will be called the City of the Sun. So, verses 24, 25. On that day, Israel will be the third with Egypt and Assyria, a blessing in the midst of the earth, whom the Lord's host has blessed, saying, Blessed be Egypt, my people, and Assyria, the work of my hands, and Israel, my heritage. Yeah. So that's what also I wanted to say, because the Ezekiel is, they say it flows at the east of Assyria, but of course the map needs to be as earlier maps. Then now we will try to, so then now we are going to speak about that confusion made on the name Israel. Israel is not, in the Bible, is not the state of Israel we know today. Israel in the Bible is at the beginning of that name. It's the name that God gave to Jacob, the son of Isaac and the twin brother of Esau. Because in Genesis 32:28, Jacob had one night a vision, kind of vision reality, and he was fighting with someone. Not fighting before, but he was fighting because he saw the light of that person. He recognized the light of the angel. He said, that person, this angel can bless me. The angel said, well, now it's my time, I need to go. And Jacob said, no, I'm not letting you go until you bless me. So that is why through his angel, so the angel said in Genesis 32 verse 28, said to Jacob, your name will no longer be called Jacob, but Israel. For you have fought with God and with men and have prevailed. Yeah. So Jacob has 12 sons, and the descendants of Jacob were the 12 tribes of Israel. So from that 12 tribe, there was the tribe of Judah, because one of the sons of Jacob was called Judah, and King David and King Solomon belongs to the tribe of Judah. And also at the end of not at the end, but at some point came also the Son of God, called Jesus Christ. He is also from the tribe of Judah. And his mother also. So the Christians are Jewish who followed Christ. So during the history, but all that was happening in the mother human lands. So, but with recent history, the Christians, the Jewish, and other people of the human motherland were, because there were many other confessions in the human motherland, but all the people, the black people, were taken to slavery. First by the Arabs, then by the Europeans, and so created a very huge diaspora around the world. There was already diaspora because it's the first man, the black people, who extending it to the world, but there is the diaspora specially created by those who were taken to slavery. And from the during the colonization time, some missionary, Catholic and Protestant, European, came to force the European Christianity on the people of the human motherland. Because the human motherland's Christianity is not the same. The human motherland Christianity is a prophetic Christianity, as God wants it to be. That's why whatever they could do to erase that Christianity, it always appeared again. But the recent ones the more recent are during colonization, Kimbangism. That was fought, the Catholic Church fought, and there was, now we have more of those prophetic churches, like there's the Celestial Church of Christ, there is the and now the Church, Celestial Church Harvest Time, and other. And let us read Joel 2:28, Revelation 12:17, and Revelation 19 verse 10. So let's go to that first, to Joel. Joel 2:28. And it shall come to pass afterwards that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams, your young men shall see visions, and also upon the servants and upon the handmaids In those days, I will pour out my spirit. Let's go to Revelation 9, first Revelation 12. 17. Okay. Yeah, so the bit story. When the dragon was thrown down by the angels, then the woman who had to give birth to the son, and so the dragon was against that woman. So let's start from the verse 16. But the earth came to help the woman, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed the river which the dragon had poured from his mouth. Then the dragon was angry with the woman and went off to make war on the rest of her offspring, on those who keep the commandments of God and bear testimony to Jesus. And so Revelation 19:10 says, so it's St. John who had a vision of an angel, and he wanted to worship that angel. And I fell at his feet to worship him. But he said to me, see that you do not do that. I am your fellow servant and of your brethren who have the testimony of Jesus. Worship God. For the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. So, but there are some rest of people, original Jews, still there on the continent. You have I will just maybe say 3 of them. So you have the Igbo Jews of Nigeria. You have the Ethiopian Jews. You have the Lemba Jews in South Africa, and some Jews community original are still on the continent. And having said that, through the migrations, the diasporas, the mixing of people, of population all over the world, and the conversions also to Judaism, because many people adopted Judaism and their families became Jewish. So maybe they don't know even that they are Jewish from conversion. Maybe their ancestor converted to Judaism, but the family is now Jewish, etc. So they are Jewish all over the world now. And even you can be Jewish today, you can even be a descendant of Jacob and doesn't know that you are a descendant of Jacob. Okay. So at the end of the Second World War, at the end of the Second World War, some European Jewish went to settle in Palestine with the help of United Kingdom and USA. And they founded the state of Israel that we know today. Now, regarding the Trinity, Holy Trinity, there is only one God, but at different times, but acting at different times. The first is the Holy Spirit, because Genesis says at the beginning, the earth was empty. There was nothing. There was only the waters. The Spirit of God was moving upon the waters. Then came the creation, and we say that the Father. So the Father, the name Father of the Spirit, but it's the same Spirit. But the Father came with the creation. And the Son came, it's the same Spirit, it's God with us, it's the name of the Son of God. God is with us. And which is a part of that Spirit of God. And who was God as well, who participated to the creation. It's the same Spirit. But the Son of God is there for the redemption of humanity. And when they say, let us, in Genesis, when God says, let us make man to our image and to our resemblance, it's not, the our doesn't mean that there are many gods or something. It's probably a mistake of translation, because those a mistake, a confusion of translation, because those English, French translations, European translations were made at a time where there was kingdoms in Europe. And those texts, biblical texts, Jewish texts, are not owned by Europeans. They are ancient texts from people. But maybe, as everything, they were taken, so. But they don't own the text. And when they translated, at that time, the people in kingdom of the European kingdoms, the high personality, the king and queen, instead of saying, I am doing to do this, they said, we are doing to do this. But we is them, is one person, is I. They were saying we or our. So probably that's it, because God is a personality, is let us say that, big personality, that they uses that kind of expression from the royalty. So God made man to its image, physical image. In Revelation, they talk about the person was on the throne, had a woolly hair, and etc. And he made also man to his spiritual resemblance. Yeah, because we can say that man is one being in five persons. Because there's the baby, the time and the appearance and the actions of the baby are completely different of the time of the childhood. First, the time is different because it's a different year in the universe, different places, maybe. It's different. The, the time of the teenager is different of the time of the childhood. The time of the adult is different of the time of the teenager. The time of the elder, the old people is different of the time of the adult. Different in the time properly. The years are different. 1995 is different of 2023. It's different, but it's the same person, the same spirit. It's like a new birth at each time. And the same way, the name Jesus Christ was a translation, but it was even made because Jesus Christ is composed of two names, one from Hebrew and one from Greek. The Hebrew, which is translated by Jesus, is Yoshua, which means Savior. And the Greek Christos means the anointed. So translation was Jesus Christ, but the name of the Son of God has been given. Those as his his he described him. So his name has been revealed in Isaiah 7:14. His name is God with us. Let us read Isaiah 7:14. Therefore, the Lord himself will give you a sign. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call him Emmanuel, which means God with us. And sorry. And let's read also. Let's read the verse 15. What is Isaiah 7? And 15. So, cream and honey he shall eat, that he may know to refuse the evil and choose the good. So, the Son of God, God with us, he didn't eat solid food before the age of 7. They say that it's at the age of 7 that you can make the difference between good and bad and everything. He was special. And so that name, God with us, you can say that name in your own language. own language. It's the name of God. You can also say Jesus Christ. It's described Jesus Christ, what his purpose, the the Savior anointed by God. But the name that God gave is God is with us. And about the resurrection, what does Jesus Christ says in Revelation 1:18? Let's see, Revelation 1:18. Let's see, just Revelation 1:18. Revelation 1:18. So in Revelation 1:18, God with us, alias Jesus Christ, says, I am the living one. I was dead, and now, look, I am alive forever and ever, and I hold the keys of death and Hades. So when someone has the keys of some things, that means he can enter that thing and come out of that thing again. So having what are the keys? The keys is the element, something that helps you, that gives you the possibility to enter a place or to come out of a place. And also, it gives you the possibility to control. So, so having the keys enables you to control something or to control someone. For example, so having the keys of death means that Christ was immortal. He can enter death, come out death. He can enter death and take out people from death, etc. So Christ is risen. Reason why. Sometimes it is God himself who hides some bodies from men and from demons. In Jude 1 verse 9, we have Holy Michael fighting with the devil for the body of Moses, and he took back the body of Moses. And Enoch, they say Enoch was no more because God took him. Prophet Eli was taken in a chariot of fire, and the Holy Virgin Mary was elevated to heaven. Because even men, what does we know that demon can do many things with bodies, but even men, they do also many wrong things with the bodies. Let's talk only about the Egyptian mummies. People were mummified in order to keep the body ready for resurrection. But you think that some people will be able to enter their body at the resurrection when their body have been uh, put into pieces by scientists or in laboratories? How are they going to do to enter their body again? And even some tombs have become touristic place. So that is why God does not allow the bodies of some people to stay in the hands of men or in the hands of demons, especially when those bodies have a cosmic power, like the body of the Son of God and the body of the Mother of God. It will never happen that a man or a demon can enter possession of those bodies. Then, regarding now let's talk about the spiritual combat a little. We talk about the fight when the devil was thrown out of heaven with his angels. But we don't often talk about the length of that fight. It was kind of seconds. In Luke 10:18, verses 18 to 20, Jesus Christ says, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. You know, those holy angels, they are very powerful beings, organized and vigilant and quick. And God himself, he knows, but regarding us, he knows when he can intervene for us. Why? Because though we may think that today our situation is so bad, so desperate, God knows that there is even a worse situation coming in front of us. And it is at that time that he will act. If you remember the way the Hebrew Israelite who came out of Egypt, God made them the opening for them to go out of Egypt. But they still had the army of Pharaoh sometimes pursuing them. And when did God actually made his miracle? He made his miracle when there was no more chance for his people. They had the Red Sea in front of them, and they had the army of Pharaoh behind them. That is when God, at a special time, that God opened the sea for them to go through. And when they have reached the other side, God used that same sea to destroy the army of Pharaoh. And that's why it is all about perseverance and courage, because we don't know when God will act. He only knows the future. So and unless he tells you, but if he tells you, so there is also other context. So okay, so when you don't know, he knows. Let us read Micah 11. uh, Micah 4. Micah 4. So Micah 4, 11, verses 11 to 12. Now many nations are assembled against you, saying, let her be profaned, and let our eyes gaze upon Zion. But they do not know the thoughts of the Lord. They do not understand his plan, that he has gathered them as a sheaves to the threshing floor. We can also read Isaiah 33:1. Isaiah 33:1. Ah, you destroyer, who yourself have not been destroyed, you treacherous one, with whom no one has dealt treacherously. When you have ceased to destroy, you will be destroyed. And when you have stopped dealing treacherously, you will be dealt with treacherously. So, but the enemy will always try to resist. But it's more in order to discourage you, because in reality, since they have been thrown down from heaven to earth and to sea, they know that they have not much time. So this was for the stone 5. See you at the next video.